Border, border, border. The past couple of days, we're hearing a lot about our borders in the United States. But I'll tell you what we're not hearing about, and I am determined to bring you more facts, more discussion about this, is children at the border. What are we hearing? We're hearing it's bad. We're hearing we have an invasion. We hear that there are cartels. We hear about fentanyl. But you know what we're not really hearing? I'm going to say it again. The children. The children. There were policies in place under the Trump administration that kept children safer. For instance, we had the swabbing of the cheeks, the DNA, and children were separated from an adult for up to 90 minutes. But those argued in the Biden administration when they took over in 2021 that this was an invasion of privacy. Privacy. Now, under the Trump administration, now these are just the facts. Whether you like Trump, you don't like Trump, I am telling you the facts. I was in the White House in 2019 and 2020 at the Human Trafficking Summit held in January of each of those years. And I was there along with other groups and organizations, all working to abolish slavery. This is slavery, enslavement of people, vulnerable kids. So this swabbing, this reduced a lot of the sex trafficking, labor trafficking, human trafficking as a whole. Also, we had the Remain in Mexico. I'll leave that there. I don't want to go down, get too complicated on you. I want to stick with the children. But that would have kept with what was happening in the Trump administration, keeping criminals out, keeping people out that were bringing these children. It's a business. They bring them over the border 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and claim they're a family unit, and therefore they get to stay in the United States. I want to point out that a lot of these children, it broke in the news the other day, but medical professionals, I talked to doctors, healthcare workers, told me before all this that many of these children are not inoculated against things like polio and measles, those traditional child vaccines. I took them. I had no choice. My mother gave them to me. I'm sure most of you did too. Those are things we can eradicate that we do know work, those type of vaccines. And what do we have in the last few days? Outbreaks of measles in several states, because we have these children coming into the country, mingling perhaps in our communities and schools with other children. So it's a very dangerous situation going on. We have the cartels using children. When did children become chattel? So all this border talk is very good. We want this out there pre-election. We want you to know what's going on more than what I just see in the media of men probably 20 to 30 crossing over. Where are the images of women and children? Doesn't it seem like if a man shows up at the border, and there are many stories like this relayed to me, with 4, 5, 6 children, and he says, I'm their father. And the border agent says, well, where's the mother? She couldn't come. She got sick. She stayed home. I don't think so when you have that amount of children. The other problem is we have all of these NGOs. Now there are a lot of stories simmering, but not really breaking yet. I've been asking, tremendous amounts of government money, your money, my money, go into these government contracts of NGOs, non-governmental organizations on the border. And I want to point out it spans everything from Catholic charities to Jewish organizations to Seventh-day Adventists. We've got all kinds of groups making millions and millions of dollars. We are not allowed to know their exact procedures, take pictures, visit, anything of the like. So what are they exactly doing? Processing and sending these children out to these, I know I'm using air quotes, vetted sponsors. Who determines these sponsors? Because I want to remind you, back last spring, the Biden administration announced they lost 85. Some reports said 84, some said 86. It was all over the place. It doesn't matter if you lose one child, that's one child too many. They lost these children that came over the border. They walked it back a few days later to say, we didn't lose them. When we went to follow up 1 month later, with their sponsors, we couldn't get in touch with them. And nobody's asking, we're going on a year now with that report, where are these children? We know during this Biden administration, 300,000 undocumented migrant children, illegal alien children, whatever you want to call them. We have to remember here, they're all children. Came into the United States. Where are these kids? Why did Biden, the minute he took over in the White House, undo policies that under President Trump worked? Now, I want you to also understand something here right now. I'm not promoting one person over the other. I'm talking about policy. Policy, policy, policy. And right now on the border, there is zero policy. It is a free-for-all. But nobody is really talking about all the children. What is happening? If they're going off with these, we have reports of getting in trucks and cars, 5 to 10 children with one person. I already told you the Biden administration lost 85,000. For all we know, it could be double that number. We don't really know. The records aren't matching up. It is an invasion, but we're not seeing a lot about the kids. Are they ending up in sex trafficking? We talk a lot about sex trafficking, but there's labor trafficking. Forced begging, forced servitude. It's all happening in the United States. I'm in the middle of New York City. And if it's not in your town right now, I am here to tell you it is coming soon. I have another question. You know, today I'll be on the Dick Morris Democracy Show, Saturday, March 2nd, 3:30 and 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And I was talking to Dick all about children at the border. And he said to me, I don't really know, Lynn, a lot about that. Educate me. And I did, and I was on the show. So that will air tomorrow. I urge all of you, Newsmax Television, newsmaxtv.com. Please go and look. This is about children. This is not about political parties. This is not about right, left, any of these names, titles, whatever you want to call it. We are now talking about vulnerable kids. Vulnerable kids. So my question is, which I brought up to Dick, is, 14 states in calendar year 2023, it's a state-by-state thing, want to weaken child labor laws. Since 2021, a reminder, that is when the Biden administration took over, we have had 28 states in total wanting to weaken child labor laws. What is this really all about? Let's think about this and dissect it for a minute. Why would we want to abolish something that was developed in the 1930s to protect children from illegal labor practices, long working hours? After all, these are children. And what do we always hear and read and know about? Brains don't develop until 25. All kinds of things. Kids can't critically analyze situations or react appropriately. So now in 2024, we want to put more and more children, whether they're our children, whether they're migrant children, into these dangerous working situations. Things like and now remember, it's a state-by-state case. Things like, including the state of Florida, I want to throw this out there. Do we want to have children working? Some states, no limits, so they can go to school all day and they can work all night. No limits to what they can work. Also, working in an establishment that serves liquor. Now, that does not make any kind of sense to me. When I was pressing for this is dangerous, I was told, well, a manager in a restaurant, an establishment, I guess that's another word for bar, would be watching that child serving. That doesn't even make sense to me. If you're in the middle of some rural area and there's a bar or something and a child, who's watching this 14, 15-year-old as an example? So we have that going on. Work papers. Some states say, when I was a kid, you needed work papers if you were 14, 15 years old. 16 too, I believe. No longer. They want to do away with work papers. Again, so we have this influx of migrant children. Democrats and Republicans love cheap labor. So now, are these children, are they weakening these child labor laws to accommodate these hundreds of thousands of children, teens that are now in the United States so they can work around the country? Because where are all the children? I keep asking, where are all the children? And They're working in places like automotive plants, certainly agriculture, farming. They are working in, I've heard stories of working in homes, cleaning and tending to the properties, waiting on the people. Being a domestic is a word for it. You might know that as a maid, a word I don't like to use about anybody. It's not an appropriate word in my vocabulary. They are working in meat packing, definitely construction, lumber. Why are we doing this to children? Why aren't Americans demanding answers? How come when I talk about this, nobody seems to know about it? How come we aren't collectively coming together and saying, no, this is not to be tolerated? Because again, this isn't about just these migrant, undocumented children. This is also about our children weakening the labor laws. Don't we want our kids to go to school, homeschool, go to school, have a healthy childhood? Why can't we let children in 2024 be children? Our children are also watching all of this play out. And don't think they don't notice. Don't say, well, they don't watch television. They're online. They're on their phones, laptops, Chromebooks. They know what's going on because we have algorithms that pop things up in front of the children. They are seeing stories about the border. They are seeing youth mental health crisis. Believe me, they're seeing all of this. So this border issue is not just about migrant children. It is also about our American children. I started out telling you about the measles. Now we have epidemic coming to several states. We're going to be seeing more of this type of infectious disease coming. That is what my healthcare medical professionals tell me about. And nobody can quite figure out. And I say, why would this be? If we have something for measles and polio that works, nobody seems to know. They don't know about that. They don't know the exact number or close to it of kids coming over the border. They don't know where. An estimated 300,000. Remember, any numbers I give and are put out there, the numbers are always higher. We don't talk about how all of this invasion, this mishmash, this chaos on a daily basis is affecting our American children. We talk about medicating them. We talk about, I guess, just letting them be on their devices. I don't know. But what we're going to do is use our Warriors hashtag, which is community creates change. We are going to, in our homes and communities, I tell you this all the time, we are going to help within. And that will expand. That is a Warriors belief. Out. It will snowball. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, but start researching. The internet is a wonderful tool. Vet through it. Go through it. Follow the Warriors, lynswarriors.org. Retweet, share stories, just read them. Because our goal is if we help one person, one child a day, if we educate somebody, if we do community outreach. We have a tremendous outreach going on here in New York tomorrow in Cypress Hills, a neighborhood in Brooklyn. And our good friends, our colleagues at Goya Foods have donated a tremendous amount of food. And we're getting it out into that community under our watch. No, nobody will be hungry. We are working on that initiative as well with a wonderful woman, Madeline Brame, who's really boots on the ground, organizes all of this along with community organizations to get those volunteers, to set up those tables, to hand it out to vets and Americans in need. That is what we are doing right now. We're going to be coming to a neighborhood, your neighborhood soon, I should say, because we want to get food, we want to get clothing, we want to get shoes, we want to get supplies for children, American children, and vets directly into their hands, and that's what we're doing. So we want to give a great big shout out to Goya Foods, an American company here based right outside of New York City, who generously opened their arms for the Warriors. What do you need? How can we help you? We'll also be doing a distribution from Goya to the 2 safe houses we work with Lifeway Network here in New York in the Bronx and also in Queens. So that'll be taken care of by next week. The women come to these homes, 18 plus, adult women, for a program for up to a year. They are victims of trafficking and domestic violence. They usually go hand in hand. They intersect. And this is one of the few programs, 1 year. You live in a home environment in a house. You cook together, you eat together, you learn job skills, you learn how to create a resume, you learn how to dress, you learn how to communicate. These are the things needed in each and every community. We have a government right now that is doing nothing for the people. That's you, me, and everybody else. We have to do it. If you don't think you have a responsibility to your fellow man, you are sorely wrong. You are not a warrior. And we need everybody. We have our children watching what is going on. We have a well-documented youth mental health crisis. I'm trying to think right now, so many children I know and young adults are medicated for their anxiety and their depression. I direct you always to watch the videos on Lynn's Warriors. I got sidetracked a little bit this week, I will admit, because I was called into jury duty. And I will just say I did my civil duty or civic duty, I guess it's called, or both. But I was released late yesterday, so I am back on track with everything, and happily so. So I want everybody to roll up their sleeves. I want everybody, there is something in your community you can all do. You can always write to me, lynn@lynswarriors.org, ask me questions, make suggestions. Donations. Our donations go to supporting survivors of human trafficking and also for our education programs. Right now, we have 8 different events lined up for March and April. Workshops. We'll come to your community and do workshops for you. We are going to be launching very shortly our Warriors Youth Council, so I can't wait to get that off the ground. We've got to empower the kids, the young adults, mentor them, help them, give them a helping hand. Put our hand on their shoulder and say it'll be okay. But we also have to do that with a lot of adults. So join me. Come along. Don't be scared. Don't close the door. Don't close your eyes. This is the world we live in. Let's learn to deal with it together. Let's leverage the internet for good, because we live in a digital world. It's not going away. Let's share information, facts, not fears. And don't forget to tune into Newsmax. That is Saturday, March 2nd at 3:30 and 7:30 p.m., when it's an honor to join host Dick Morris on his show Democracy as we talk about children and what is going on at the border. Remember always, community creates change. Now go out and be a warrior.